Hi and welcome to Sven's Bricks. Thanks for tuning in. In this video I am going to be beginning a very big new project. I've actually been thinking a little while about what to do with my city. Haven't really built anything there for a little while, and I'm a believer in doing what your inspiration tells you to do. So I'm actually going to take all of this away and I'm going to build two new displays, one Western themed display, and one pirate themed display. They're my two favourites from the classic era. So right at the back there I've got my Ninjago City sets. Those are going to come down into my glass cabinet downstairs in the house where I did have my pirates. The pirates are going to come up and they're going to be on the green tables at the back, and then I'm going to split these white tables away and put them at the other end of the room over here with the drawers in the middle, so I can do a Cowboys display. So this is going to be several months in the works. This will be the first video of a series, and I'm basically just going to begin by removing all of the city, removing all of the models, packing them down into boxes, and then slowly begin to work on a rough layout to get an idea of how I'm going to have it. I'm also probably going to swap out a few of the models up on my shelves up here, just to keep things fresh. It's also good to dust stuff down and pack them away, bring out new things or bring out older things that have been boxed away, see them for a little bit. So I'm going to get going. So 3.5 hours later, and I have made it to this stage. I've moved my pirate sets up from the glass cabinet downstairs, and I've split the tables. I've put the drawers in between, and I've started to prepare the space for the cowboy scene over here, or the Wild West scene over here, and the pirate scene over here. This has taken 3.5 hours to get to this point, so packing away all the Lego, hoovering the sets before they go into boxes, making sure that they're all wrapped up so I don't lose pieces. I've got my police station, for example, under wraps on down there, a few unbuilt sets down there, and yeah, I'm now ready. The pirates are going to sit there for a little while. I need to think a bit about how I'm going to do this. I don't know about having some sort of a mountain at the back there, or a hideout at the back, something that breaks up all the big wall space. And then I think the Cowboys is going to have the silhouette of a canyon or something around the back, is my idea. But I'm going to begin by building up my Western sets. I've got a few of them just to get an idea of how I want the layout, and then I'll get back to you. So it's about 3 weeks later, and I've made some progress, but the lack of parts has slightly held me back. But I've managed to get together the layout that I think I'm after here. Although I've just decided that I think I'm going to run a train track down the middle. But as you can see, I've got my Fort Lego Rito built in the back corner there, and a sheriff's house. And then I think the idea will be to have a couple of buildings here, and then maybe one or two here, just to create a little bit of a town feeling in this corner. And then where the yellow bricks are, there's going to be a couple of canyons, so a couple of large rocks. And then over here I thought I might have a little hideout or a little camp area for the baddies, and then the Indians are in that corner over there. So I've started to put in a little bit of rock work in the back there, just to get a bit of a sense of what kind of scale I need. As I mentioned in the last clip, I probably do want to have some mountains across the back there, just to break up the very plain wall otherwise. But at least the layout's done now. I've used the yellow plates at the moment and some of the pink ones just to help me get the base down. And then the plan will be to cover this whole area in sand-coloured pieces. So I've actually just received one of the larger bricklink orders that I've ever placed. about an €80 order, and just with sand coloured or tan coloured and dark tan coloured parts from a seller in Gothenburg here in Sweden. And I'm very excited to get this open and to start being able to put together the landscape with a more finished look. So the thing I enjoy most about Bricklink, placing orders on Bricklink, is the amount of care that sellers take when packing. And it looks as though this is no exception. Yeah, wow, this is exciting for me. So we've got lots and lots of tan coloured plates. Some nice rounded ones there. Lots of these smaller ones. And then some larger ones to fill out the areas. And we've even got some of the dark tan ones just to give it a bit of detail at the end, probably for finishing up, a little garnish. And some of those for the edges that I've used around the corners of the water there. I wanted to look like darker sand. Some more rounded ones. So I can now properly start putting this together. So this is how things are looking. A bit messy over here, so I'm not going to show you too much of that area. But I realise that the fun thing about making a big landscape like this is that you can kind of work on the bits that you're feeling most inspired to work on. So for example here I decided that the river needed to flow through. So I actually ripped up this area, which previously I had sand pieces all covering this area here. And I realised that it didn't look very natural, that it just stopped here. And that it needed to flow either through this way or out this way. And seeing as I'm going to have a train track running right down the middle of the display, I didn't want to have both a river and a train track running in the same direction, as I thought it would look most natural to have the river kind of running off to an angle. But then also, because of the angle, I decided that it would be good to put some rockery in, mainly just to sort of show that the water was being forced down this channel. And this is where I've got to. I may still rip up more here, possibly, to reduce this corner a little bit. It feels a bit abrupt to come in like that. But I've worked a bit on the rockery, and I'm quite pleased with the way that it's turned out so far. I think the key for building this type of thing that I notice more and more is randomness. To make it look natural, it needs to be as random as possible. The bricks need to be as random as possible, but you also need to put a little bit of thought into the colours that you use. So I've tried to keep this dark tan colour near the water to show wet sand. And then I've also varied a little bit the colour of the stone bricks that I've used. I can show you just down here, there's a little bit of overhang in certain areas where the water is going underneath the rocks. But I also didn't want the river to be very straight, so that's why I've tried to break up the straight edge that was created here when I put in these blue plates to start with. And then just to finish up and add a little bit of detail, I've added in some of these little clear pieces going up and down both cheese slopes and the little 1x1 plates as well. And then finally I just added a tiny bit of greenery on the top here just to bring a bit more life to the scene. From a distance at least, I think it looks really nice. I'm going to be aiming for this type of look throughout the entire landscape. So the area over here where it's very plain, and obviously this entire area down here where it's very plain, is all going to be filled in with little bits of stone, little bits of shrubbery and other plants growing in order to get a really nice detailed and complete look. Continuing with the sand, I have the same aim, is to create as much randomness as possible. And I don't mean all these pieces that are lying loose everywhere, just ignore those for the moment. And I did just put this sand piece in there, and then I realised that it didn't look very natural with this piece sticking out. So I realised that if I do that, then I'm just wasting one of my sand pieces, and I don't have a lot of those. So what I'm doing a lot is, as mentioned before, is that I'm using different colours, the ones that I have lots more of, in order to build the terrain up. This is a good cost-saving tip, because otherwise I would have just wasted a sand-coloured plate there. So that's a really good cost-saving tip, is to I mean, all of this area here underneath there is full of yellow and red and pink and purple coloured pieces. You can see a little bit just there. In order just to lift the terrain up. I mean, no terrain is totally flat. So this should give it a more natural look, and you can't see those bricks anyway. Okay, now that I've cleared up a little bit, I can show you a bit more how it's looking. Obviously right now there's a lot of angles that need to be smoothed out. Lots of very straight lines which aren't very natural, but as I mentioned, those will be broken up by using smaller pieces, different colours, bits of shrubbery and so on. I'm saving a little bit of money by not filling in sand over here. I'm going to have that as a bit of a rock area for where some bandits are going to be hanging out. And then right now I don't really have the sand plates to cover this whole area, and certainly not the area underneath these boxes here. But this is quite a large space to be working on for the time being. So this is where I'll be concentrating my efforts for the time being, waiting for my next paycheck in order to place probably at least one more bricklink order in order to complete the desert. And then there's going to be another order for the canyons or the two mountains which will be built here. So I'm thinking quite high, going down the middle there, and then you'll be able to, there'll be a passage going in between the two of them through to the river there. So just to give you a bit of an idea of how it looks, tried to make the terrain as unlevel and as random as possible. Just doing little things like this just helps to break up the edges, so that's what I will be continuing to do along here. Another example of that is just here, where you just put in an extra little plate, or just there where you just put in an extra couple of plates, just to bring this out a bit more. It just gives it a bit more of a natural look. So I'm going to start to add a little bit of detail, and not too much at this stage because I haven't fully decided what I'll do with all of this area just yet, but probably just start to put together some cactuses, some shrubbery, a few little rocks. So this feels like a pretty good place to leave my first video, just before I start to add a lot of detail to this front area of the desert here. So stay tuned, subscribe in order to continue watching and following the progress. And as always, thanks for watching, and bye for now.